my name's Matthew Bell. I'm part of our finance team at Hamilton City Council. My role is Finance Transactional Support Services Manager. So I look after all things rating, all things essentially money in and money out of the organisation, from AP to debt recovery to receipting through to rates as well. There's always been a focus on arrears collection, so that the money we're getting through from our ratepayers, and just keeping sort of a balance in that. It's always been quite difficult to report that this has been increasing, and there's an expectation that that sort of aligns to what's been going on in the nationwide environment. But it has been really challenging to keep on top of that. Probably one of the things that sticks out for me is just the customer expectations, is that we traditionally haven't made it easy for our customers to interact with us, and we know there's an expectation for any sort of payment gateways outside of local government to make it easy and flexible. We just didn't have that. Probably the biggest and the initial thing for me, though, when I looked at Payable, was around what can I do to support my team internally. We were just struggling. We were just bombarded with the general kind of admin, and specifically around direct debit managements, the amount of emails we receive, all of those kind of things. So having something that could address that was really attractive to us.
One point that we talked about working together is the ability or lack thereof to communicate with ratepayers. How has that been a priority for you with this project?
That's been a really key sort of win for us as we've learned more about Payable and how we get to communicate. So, post in New Zealand is expensive. It's clunky. It's very manual. Having the ability to communicate in another way. So the introduction of SMS for us has been just a bit of a game changer. We're really lucky in Hamilton as well. We've got a fantastic comms team who were really integral for the project to implement, and it was really important for us to not only talk to our community around these changes, but also bring everyone else on that journey. So our senior management and elected members. But yeah, the comms is probably the most important part that we've seen as part of the journey to get where we are so far.
Steps involved. If you wanted to try and provision someone to pay at more frequent intervals, was it a tough thing to do at council?
Yeah, changing intervals was impossible. So we thought we were doing pretty well with weekly and fortnightly and monthly, probably like most councils. Outside of that, it means that our team are having to do a lot more. There's additional processing, and it's just not achievable.
The most important thing for me, I think, is trying to change how many councils look at the problem. Often councils look at arrears, and arrears is a number, obviously, that's measured. It's a metric, and the idea is reduce it. But many councils look at arrears and look at is how do we increase or improve our debt collection. And what I tried to do is look at it before that. So the leading indicator on arrears is people that need some flexibility. And then after that, it's people who actually don't pay you because they don't come to you first. Then it's those that you go to through those messages or through letters who then don't respond. It's sort of like a pyramid. And the way you stop people ending up in arrears, which is at the bottom of the pyramid, is actually managing them before they get there. So that's why we've built so much functionality into the platform around helping people get into bill smoothing or flexible payments, because it prevents that. We know all of us are powerless against addressing the macro of the rising cost of living problems. And also in our sector, we're all under pressure of having to do more with less. We're not getting greater budgets at council. We're not getting more funds to address these things. And so with that in mind, being more efficient and more effective in the processes is how I've seen us able to reduce that number.
We were introduced to Payable through our main system provider, so through Civica, and from our point of view, the timing was kind of perfect around that. We're struggling as an organisation. We're going through quite a major restructure. We're struggling around providing payment flexibility to our community, and we're also having discussions around how we can implement automation and then talk to our property owners about quite significant rates increases. So the timing aligned. It wasn't that long ago. So that was sort of this time last year when we were having those discussions. We were introduced to Elliott and then made our way through exactly what we're looking to take on and understand the product.
This is the main way to see that take up is from the rates notice. And it is a pretty brave decision to change this document. I think it requires some ratifications and sign-offs. Matt, had you ever had, for instance, if you look at the bottom left here, a QR code on a rates notice before, and was it effective? Like, what were the strengths and weaknesses of that? And then what changed doing this method?
Yeah, we have. So it's, as you see on that example, we as a council, we're starting to use QR codes to just engage with a sort of a number of different activities that we do. We've never had a QR code on the remittance or any QR code sort of associated with a payment. So that was really interesting. Lots of good discussion with our printing company just to ensure that works really well, and it's at a level where it's easily seen and understood by those people who are using it. We've had a great sort of response and uptake around QR codes. Nice and easy. There's an expectation out there now from people. They know what a QR code is, so not a big transition.
And Matt, may I ask, was this the first time you'd used a unique QR code, like with the ratepayer detail? Okay, and was that something that maybe going into it, was that something you were excited about, or I don't know, it's all just QR codes, how excited can you get? But that idea of embedding the ratepayer's rates notice number.
Yeah, from a user experience, it's great. Obviously, it's personalized, so it brings forward all that information when someone wants to scan that. There's that validation process associated with using Payable, which is either through a verification number that we use or actually embedded within the QR code. So it's really nice to know that we're not just directing to sort of a general kind of payment experience, that it does have that personalized touch, which has been fed back to us as something that's been really good.
Another thing too that we need to remember is that people may not just scan the rates notice. I know in this day and age, many people just say pay rates Hamilton into Google, and that's probably the main way they find council. So optimizing the website is really important. Matt, you took the step to make Payable the default method of payment. And if we think back to that triangle where Payable's processing all the data from the system and then all the gateway transactions, do you feel like this was a major shift for you as an organization to change this page in particular?
Yeah, it was. The benefit of doing that is for us is that we kind of had an immediate respite on all of those emails that we'd received. So straight away from day one, the 100 odd emails that would come through a week to talk about payment arrangements or direct debits, they had disappeared, because that was now our ratepayers had the ability to self-manage that and see those balances and see those amounts through their phone or through their computer. It is quite a change. Creating a sort of an online link in a portal which requires a different verification method, that was quite important to us. But again, super responsive from the Payable team, so they came back with that really quickly, and that's worked really well for us as well. One thing that was actually really cool throughout the process, particularly when it was new, is some of the feedback that we received had some really good suggestions in behind it, and that just gave us the ability to talk to your team around those suggestions and see how we can maybe change some of our language and make things a little bit clearer. So that worked really well throughout the process. But yeah, always love to get good feedback. We have access to the portal. The cool thing about that is we can see all the text messages, and we can see that interaction that Payable's been having directly with the customer. We can see the plans. One of the bits of or the request that we put forward was the ability to create bespoke plans and have that same Payable experience. So we have the ability to actually, for those customers that are really struggling, and we might need to schedule paying the rates or catching up on the rates over an extended period of time, we have the ability to control all of that, which has been really, really cool.
You mentioned the ability to do SMSs. It's not just one SMS, but you've got all these automated SMSs supporting your team, so you don't need to be doing these manual calls. In our final minute or so, is there one SMS type that's your favorite, or one that we missed here?
It has to be the dishonors, dealing with dishonors. So the customer's getting a notification that their payment was not successful. That is all automated, and they have the ability to self-serve and deal with that. Dishonors is a pain otherwise, and I'm assuming that's not only for us in the past, it's for other councils as well. So that's been cool. Again, one of the things that we've really liked is that we had a bit of feedback around the number of SMSs go out and giving the ratepayers the ability to control the type of SMS. So, and that was some development that you created throughout the implementation in New Zealand, as you've given control within the ratepayers portal that they can turn off and on different types of SMS. So for example, getting a reminder SMS is something that can default and ratepayers can get that, and that's really important. For some ratepayers, they don't need to know that and they would like to turn that off and just hear about the critical changes, you know, when something's going to affect how much money they're paying out of their bank. So providing that flexibility to ratepayers has been great as well.
Obviously, you do not need to run your traditional direct debit any longer should you choose not to. However, I know, Matt, at Hamilton right now, you're kind of doing a little bit, you know, you don't want to shake all the foundations of the castle in one go. So there's a little bit of a transition happening, isn't there?
Yeah. For us, so we made a bit of a call sort of midway through the project, just around timing. And we understand that we can migrate all our existing direct debits over, which we will do. We wanted to see sort of that natural uptake as we sort of implement it. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we just wanted to build that trust in that brand before we sort of make the push. We're actually going through a process to comms out to our existing direct debit customers just to see if we can get that move happening. It's working so well for us that at some stage in the future, where our language is going to be that we're going to retire our old system to get people across.
In terms of the methods of communication, obviously we have SMS as a channel. We can also do proactive, they're called engagement campaigns in our language. So we can also proactively reach out to a select group of people should we choose to do so. Also, in terms of the rates notice, we find a natural take up just by modifying that. But you're also able to insert a direct letter form of insert if you want to drive more publicity.
It's hard to be balanced and not gush about it. We're really proud of it. It's from our point of view, it's a game changer. We're stoked, and we've really enjoyed that relationship with the Payable team and just your responsiveness in dealing with our questions. We understand that we were quite detailed and prescriptive through the implementation, but we did so on the basis that we think there is the ability for this thing to be, you know, rocked out throughout the country, and we just wanted to put you in a position and have the product in a position where it could easily be transferable. So we hope we've done a good job there.